Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hello, Jackie Woodside here, the founder and the host of the Conscious Living Podcast, Strategies to Live More Consciously with Time, Money, and Life. That's what we want to do, right? We want to live life more consciously, be engaged, recognize the degree to which that we are creating our own experience in life, awakening and being conscious. So that's what we're here to do. Thank you for being one of the people interested in that topic. And oh, do I have a treat for you today. I'm so excited to bring to the Conscious Living Podcast today, not only a colleague, but someone who is a dear friend and former student of mine in my curriculums, life design, life mastery, living a transcendent life, now called Living in the Domain of Miracles. Sukie Roberts and I met when I was doing a training many years ago in Massachusetts for one of the state service agencies, and Sukie just stood out in the crowd as I was presenting, and we became fast friends that day and are still friends to this day. Let me tell you a little bit about Sukie Roberts. She was born in London, where she really enjoyed the cultural diversity and the history of that city. But in 2022, she made the drastic life change of moving to the United States from Europe. So it was not just a geographical switch, but also a cultural shift for Sukie, moving from European culture in the UK to living in the US. Sukie is a mom of two. She's got two daughters, and she works full time for the Massachusetts state government in a public service role. But most importantly, and what we're going to dive into today, and I'm just so proud of her for, is she is an accomplished author, having published 3 books. The most recent of which, Easy and look at, I love this title. I said this to her before we got on. Listen to this title: Easy and Simple Living, a guide for those who want to do nothing but enjoy everything. Also known as The Sweetness of Doing Nothing. So, Sukie Roberts, welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast. Why don't you say a little bit more about yourself to get to know, so our listeners can get to know you a bit more?
Oh, Jackie, I'm so excited to be here. And honestly, the thing that stands out to me the most is the one thing I want people to know about me the most is that over the last 3 years, I have really embraced the idea of just never settling for who you think you are. There's always something new to be learned, always something new to be gained. There's always something new to grow from. And I am the person today that I wasn't 2 years ago. I wasn't 3 years ago. I wasn't when you met me. And I hope to not be this person in 2 years from now. So if I tell you something about me today, it's probably going to be a different version of what I will be feeling in a year from now.
Oh, wow. What a wonderful approach to life. You know, if you meet me 2 years from now, I'm not going to be the same person.
No.
That is really a beautiful way of perceiving life. Yeah, say more.
You know, so when you and I met, I was in a really weird space. I had just had my second daughter.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to be a working mom in this world.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really enjoying my job. I wasn't really enjoying being at home. There was something missing. And it's taken me a long time to figure it out. So my second daughter's just turned 10. So this wasn't a quick journey. And I keep thinking about one of the things that you say. And you say, you know, it's a way of life. You just don't wake up one day and suddenly everything falls into place.
Right.
But you really grow into it. And you really have to have that mindset of, being okay with not being okay with not knowing. And for the longest time, I hated the not knowing. I hated the not being okay. I still don't love it, but I've grown to understand that that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, the way I lived my life really changed and really shifted, especially in the last year. There's been so much that's happened to me personally that has just changed everything for me. And not all for the good. Some of it has made me feel very uncomfortable. And I think that proves that I'm alive.
Right. It just proves you're a human being. Let me see. I have circumstances that make me uncomfortable. What does that make me?
Yeah, alive. And
Yeah,
again,
alive. Yeah.
it's something that you said. That, there's these snippets of phrases that I remember that you have said to me that just stick in my mind. And that's another thing that sticks in my mind is you said that you never wanted to live life with grace and elegance or something along those lines. That you wanted to have the messy, you wanted to have the uncomfortable, because that forces you to grow and learn and live.
Yeah.
And every time I'm in one of those situations,
Yeah.
that pops into my mind.
Wow. Good for you, Sukie. So you're embracing the suck.
So much. And it has sucked. It has sucked. But what has come from it has just made me realize what I don't want. Because for the longest time, I was focusing on what I did want.
Okay.
But not really understanding what it was that I didn't want.
And what have you gotten clear about that you don't want?
Okay, so what I don't want is not to be true to myself or true to the relationships that I have or true to my professional endeavors. So I want the opposite of that. I want to live more authentically and develop deeper relationships and deeper connections.
Yep.
And then what I also realized was that there was no balance. And then what I realized was that maybe it's not the balance that I strive, but more of a blending of my work life and my home life.
Yeah. I say there is no such thing as work-life balance. I call it whole life integration.
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Life integration.
Integration. And I think that once I figured that out, I started to do things consciously and unconsciously that fit that way of living.
Yeah.
And that's where my books came about. And just the realization of this isn't right. This isn't clicking with me. This isn't what I'm supposed to be. And it was creeping along until it was really, really in my face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I chose to ignore all the little red flags until there was a big red flag.
Did something happen? I mean, you're leaving a question in my mind.
Yeah, it was a lot of little things. So it stems from me coming from England all those years ago and being an American. So 2 years ago, well, actually, it will be 2 years in November, my husband and I finally got our American citizenship.
Okay.
And it was really bittersweet. We've been working for this for years. We've had one visa after another. We've got our green cards. Our daughters were born out here, so they're, naturally American citizens. And then we finally got it. And I didn't have that big sense of woohoo that I thought I was going to have.
Yeah. I
definitely had that sense of security and safety now that, we're all a family unit that have the same. And I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why that I wasn't feeling that. And then we sort of jogged on a little bit and we got to the spring of last year. And I signed my daughter up for softball.
Okay.
She didn't want to, but I was just I really want you to explore things. I want you to see what else is out there. And I just kept thinking about this is a very American thing to do. Kids are involved in sports. My girls do dance and they're part of the Girl Scouts. I want you to try and do this. And she hated it and we hated it. It was 12 weeks of pure hell.
Oh.
It was like dragging her to something that I knew she hated. It was 4 nights a week of practice and games. We weren't a family unit together. We were eating at weird times. We were driving all over the place. And none of us were enjoying this.
Yeah.
And it was halfway through the season where I finally admitted it to her that I had made a mistake, that I had pushed her into something that I didn't really put a lot of thought into, and now we're all miserable. So we came to the conclusion that she would see out the season because she had made a commitment to her friends and the team.
Yep.
And she didn't want to let them down. And I was really proud of her for doing that.
Yeah, she did the hard thing.
She did the hard thing. So we stuck it out. And, you know, again, there were the smaller red flags, and then they became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we went to Europe this week, that last summer. We go to England every year, but we also went to France and we went to Italy, and that was it.
What happened?
That was the biggest red flag. That was like, all these years, I have been really trying to integrate myself into this American lifestyle. And I love what America has given me, but I'm a European at heart.
Right. You're European. And so say what you mean by that for perhaps people who haven't traveled in Europe, no European culture. What's the difference, Sukie, that you were trying to mold yourself into this American lifestyle versus the European lifestyle?
So the American lifestyle is very much built around the American dream. It's the hustle culture. You can have everything.
Yep.
You can have the big house, you can have the car, you can have the family, but you really can't have everything, because if you have all that, you're giving up something. You're giving up your peace of mind. You may be giving up your health. You're giving up time with your family.
Well, I would say a lot of people do. I don't know that that's a given.
No,
Certainly
it's not a given.
People who are living consciously,
yes,
you can choose to engage in the activities of creating your life and not have to give it up. But I hear what you're saying. The majority of the American dream, if you will, people are left burned out, frustrated, uncertain of who they are, and just kind of drained at the end of the day.
And you're right. I shouldn't be making a generalized comment like that. But for me, it was very different.
Okay.
It was, for me, it felt like this dream is great, but it doesn't align with what I want. Yeah. So I'm going to change my American dream.
Yeah. You can write your own. Part of the American dream is you can write your own American dream.
Exactly. And why did it take me so long to figure that out? I don't know. It just did. Yeah, and once I figured it out, I was like, okay, this is what I want. I want to live like the French do. Okay. I want to live like the Italians do.
And how do the French and Italians live? Say more about what that culture looks like.
It's all about those connections and about consciously living, like you say, not over consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And I took small steps with that. So I would rather have a really beautiful dress that I've spent $200 on than 50 dresses that are mediocre, that I've spent $20 on.
Yep. Yep. So that's more the European quality, less simplicity, but beauty, elegance, quality,
all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. And taking time to really enjoy my meal rather than a quick rushed drive-through meal after a late night practice that no one enjoyed.
Right.
So we have decided now to, rather than do that, spend our time really like taking dance, which my girls love. We do 3 hours of dance on a Wednesday night.
Wow.
And we love it.
You're saying do you dance also?
I do too. Yes, I joined them. I do a hip hop class on a Wednesday night.
That's so great.
I was like, I'm there anyway. I might as well take a class.
Yeah, might as well take a class. So I love what you're saying. And it sounds like that influence of your European background, European culture influenced your thoughts on all of your books, really. But let's focus on the most recent one. Easy and Simple Living, a guide for those who want to do nothing but enjoy everything. I love that, because life is such a delicious smorgasbord, right? There's so much that you can enjoy, but but maybe not the pace, maybe not the grind. So tell us a little bit about this book and what some of the tips are that you have in this guidebook.
So the biggest takeaway from my trip to Italy was the fact that people really know how to do nothing and are okay with it. And by that, I mean just being still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not feeling guilty about being still.
Yeah.
So my tips to people are, it's really hard to go cold turkey from being go, go, go to being still. So I encourage people to do it slowly, one step at a time. And I have to encourage myself to do that as well. And one of the biggest tips I say to people is like, say you're waiting for something, you're in the doctor's waiting room. Your choice is simple. You can either spend that time scrolling on your phone, or you can just sit there and people watch and be at one with your thoughts and be just present in the moment.
Yeah.
And I have to consciously tell myself, okay, I'm not going to pull my phone out. I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah.
We're
stimulated, Sukie.
Yes.
That whole thing of, everybody in an elevator, in the line at the grocery store, waiting at the doctor's office, you see it everywhere. I hate seeing groups of teenagers, that they used to interact and look at each other. And now you see a group of teenagers sitting around, and 9 times out of 10, they're on their phones, looking down, not interacting with each other, probably texting each other from 10 feet away. So, even, since the advent of the smartphone, we do see greater incidences of depression and loneliness and all these things. Is that different in Europe, in your experience, that people are still more able to be present just with themselves, with the surroundings, rather than having to be constantly distracted on their phone?
It is night and day. So when we were in Paris, we stayed in the neighborhood of Montmartre. And Montmartre is one of those neighborhoods that is so special. It is an artistic neighborhood. People like Van Gogh stayed there. People like Picasso stayed there.
Wow.
And that air of artistry and watching people and being still is still there. And I remember we were sitting in a cafe waiting for dinner, and there was this really beautifully put together older woman just sitting there. And she hadn't even ordered anything other than a drink. And no one bothered her. There was no rushing of getting her out. And she just sat there with her drink for about 45 minutes before she placed her order.
Wow.
And me and my husband were taking our cues from her, and my daughters. We were like, we just want to see what's going on with her. She was fascinating to us.
Wow.
So she ordered a glass of red wine, and she just sat there for ages, and she just drank her red wine. And then she decided,
not on her phone.
Not on her phone.
Was she looking at people?
She was just sitting there. She was just looking at people. She was drinking her wine. She had a little dog that was sat on the floor. And then she ordered her drink, her meal. And then halfway through her meal, I realized that she was waiting for her date.
Oh, interesting.
And then this elder gentleman came in and they greeted each other. And he said to her, have you been waiting long? And she said, what is long?
Wow. Oh my goodness. Such a different experience, right?
Yeah. And they had. And this all started at 7 o'clock at night. We left at 9 o'clock because my kids were getting tired. They were still there. They hadn't even touched half of their meal. They hadn't ordered dessert, but they were concentrating on each other, having the best conversation. I couldn't understand half of it because mostly it was in French. But you could tell that they were 100% focused on what each other was saying rather than being distracted by their phone.
Wow.
and just enjoying their wine, enjoying whatever they had ordered to eat. And I'm pretty certain that they were there until 11 at
Yeah.
night.
I mean, that's very European, right?
Yeah.
That if you go into a restaurant at dinner time in Europe and it's full, you just leave because everybody stays all night. It's
Yeah.
just, you stay
Yeah.
until 10, 11.
Yeah.
That taking in the dinner time, the meal, it's an event. It
It
is
was an
the
event.
event. Yeah.
And not one person who was French, or even when we were in Italy, the locals did not feel the pressure to be rushed through their meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were okay with being still and not doing anything. And the servers left them alone.
Wow.
And that's what I mean is that you can have everything by doing nothing.
Say more, Sukie. We can have everything by doing nothing. Say
You
more.
can have everything that you've ever wanted in the sense of peace, enjoyment, fulfillment, and not having to do things to bring that in. You don't have to be on your phone to have that. You can simply just sit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It's hard to do that
it's
when your
hard.
neurology is so overstimulated. You know, we're living in a time, at least in the US, that everyone is so overbooked over, the children. Like you said, you felt like your daughter should do a sport.
Yes.
You'd bought into the American way.
Yeah.
But everyone is so overscheduled, overtaxed, and even if they're not overscheduled and overtaxed, and by the way, I do hear my retired friends all say, like, I don't know how I ever had time for a job. I'm so busy. I have so much to do.
Yeah.
Even for those that perhaps aren't as scheduled with activities, we're so neurologically stimulated by having 24/7 information coming at us, a computer in our hand, 24/7, access to any answer, any information, any news that we want. What bird is that? Oh, I can pull up an app for that. What song is that? Oh, I can pull up the lyrics for that. It's lovely. Don't get me wrong. Having access to knowledge and information. I use AI, technology. And still, when it comes to, as you say, easy and simple living,
Yep.
there is a way that this constant stimulation detracts from that sense of ease and simplicity.
It really does. It's exactly what you just said. And my husband and I had this conversation just the other day where we were struggling to remember the name of someone in a movie. And I said, I'm not going to Google this because it's very easy for me to Google it. But remember how in the 80s, we just had to wait for that piece of information to pop back into our brain? I'm going to do that. I'm not going to hurry the process.
Right.
And that's what I mean about the sweetness of doing nothing. Because I don't want to treat my life like a to-do list.
Yeah.
And speed through it and check things off.
Oh, let's talk about that. So what is the cost of treating life like a to-do list? I mean, you wrote this book, Easy and Simple Living. So what's the cost of treating life like a to-do list?
I feel like we miss things, that we hurry through life and that we check things off.
Yeah, but do we really experience them?
I don't think we do. And I think that we miss out on being vulnerable.
Say more. That's rich.
It really is, isn't it? And that's the thing that really stuck with me, is that if I am rushing through things, I'm not feeling things. I'm not letting myself be vulnerable. I'm not letting myself feel the feeling of, oh, that didn't feel right, or that hit differently. I just went from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And
then what's the cost of that? We lose that sense of intuitive guidance, that inner connection, and we become, I'm sure you've heard this phrase, human doings rather than human beings.
And then I'm just left feeling confused and having self-doubt. What have I learned from this? Did I slow down? What are my flaws? What am I failing to understand? And all of these questions just kept coming up. And I just kept thinking that I need to embrace vulnerability. I need to embrace my flaws. I need to be okay with the chaotic beauty of life and not try and control it.
Ooh, be okay with the chaotic beauty of life and not
Yes.
try to control it. That's so rich. It's a beautiful phrase. I can tell you're a writer. So what do you mean by the chaotic beauty of life? What do you mean by that?
It comes back to me always feeling like I need to control things or
Okay.
I need to know where I'm going. And sometimes I do need to do that, especially when I'm traveling. I need to know, where my seat is or what terminal I'm flying out of. But I'm okay now with not planning every single moment of my trip.
Mm-hmm. Okay. More openness to
More openness to having surprises,
yeah.
more open to navigating myself through a difficult situation and being motionless while everything else around me is in motion.
Oh. So you're really talking about a very high level of being mindful, like present in the moment mindfulness.
Yes.
Everything else around me is moving, but I'm just kind of
Yeah.
able to see and experience what's happening in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've written a book about this. You've written a few books now about mindfulness in everyday life. This is a value of yours. Let me ask you, because you are flying in the face of kind of American culture of the busyness and success and accomplishment. And you're part of that. I mean, you're a full-time professional, you're a mom, you've got your kids doing things, you're writing books. I have no idea how you're doing everything that you are. So you value this. What's the benefit of this level of simplicity and easy living that you're writing about? What's the benefit for people as opposed to kind of what the American culture will sell you?
For me, it was just like reshaping my perception of what it means to be a working mom or having a home life or having a relationship. I just started to think differently about that and channel again what I didn't want and making decisions, even if they felt really uncomfortable, to have what I did want. So
So
saying no.
yeah, decisions to buck the culture that you're in. It's pushing in on you, these
Yes.
cultural expectations for your girls to do this or be this way, or for your family to engage in this way. And
Mm-hmm.
you pushed back. So like you said, saying no.
Yes. My mind was always planning. It was always planning to make the day, to follow through on something, planning my future, which we all have to do. We have to plan for our future. We have to plan for the big things in life. So my husband and I, we made our wills this year. Of course, we have to plan for the future.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to plan so much for my future that I was forgetting to make time for what I'm living right now.
Mm. So
So,
interesting because I'm a big planner.
yes.
And in some ways, my spouse and I are up at our summer home right now at our cottage. And we were talking about a bunch of our friends. Two of them just got back from being in Greece for a few weeks. And another one is off to Bali this summer. Another friend of ours going to Bali this summer. Another friend just did 5 days in Montana, a hiking trip in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at each other. Of course, we're sitting at our summer home, which we love. And we love this whole place. But we're looking at each other like, should we be doing more of that? Like, what's wrong with us? And I thought to myself, well, we don't plan it. We
Yeah.
just don't plan to do big excursions, big trips like that, like the trip you talked about going to France and Italy. So how do you find that balance? Because I would like to travel more. We do have a second home, our summer home, so there is, a tendency. I just wrote an article last week about being a highly sensitive person. And one of the characteristics and traits of highly sensitive people is they like familiar routines.
Yep.
So
Yep.
for me, as an HSP, highly sensitive person, coming
Mm-hmm.
back to my summer home every summer, and this is, by the way, my great aunt and uncle's cottage. I've been in it my whole life. It's in my hometown. So I'm coming back to my roots, to this very familiar place. And there's a degree to which that is way more comforting for me than going off to some excursion in Europe or Bali or hiking in Montana or whatever. But how do we find that balance? Because I would like to travel and see more of the world, but if I don't plan it, if I don't plan doing that, it's not going to just happen. I'm not just going to end up, in some wild excursion in Bali. So what's the balance, Suki? We do have to plan for things, or perhaps we miss out on lots of opportunities in life. But yet, if we're only planning and doing, we miss out on being present. So I feel almost feel like we have to marry the two.
You're absolutely right, because what I found as I was doing my research for this particular book, that there's a big difference between simple living and easy living.
Okay, tell me the difference.
So for me, simple living is, when you include things in your life that just make your life easier for you. So having a smartphone, having an app, having something that's going to help you physically and mentally declutter your house or your home is something that is going to bring about that simple living for yourself.
Yep.
Easy living, on the other hand, is what you've just talked about, having those comforts.
Okay.
The familiarity, things that you do frequently. And you can marry the simple and easy living aspect of going on a trip that completely pulls you out of that and puts you in a culture that is making you feel a little bit uneasy, but at the same time, it's enriching your life.
It's beautiful. I love that. So the difference between simple living and easy living.
Yeah.
It's like that's where we have to find that balance of.
I really do believe that. I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think you can marry both of them.
I want to push back a little bit, because I feel like I can be very busy but still be present.
And that is such a masterful skill to be had. And I haven't got there yet. And that's one of the things that I'm working on, because sometimes when I get really, really busy, I forget to take those mental pictures. Yeah. I just concentrate on getting through A to B to C to D.
Yeah. You get it done. Get it done. Get it done. Not have the experience.
Exactly. But I'm trying to train myself. And exactly, what you've just said, that you're able to do that. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It depends on what I'm living through and what I'm going through. And I always try to remind myself that it's critical to remember that these lifestyle options that I've made are not exclusive to one another. It depends on my unique needs at that moment, the situation, what am I combating right now? So just a couple of weeks ago, my girls had their dance recital. And I decided very consciously that day that I knew it was going to be really busy, because I help out backstage, I help out with the dance studio. But when my girls were going to be dancing on stage, I was not going to take pictures. I was not going to take a video. I was going to really slow my mind down.
Yeah.
And just watch.
Just have the experience. Savor it.
Savor it.
It's beautiful.
But I have to keep training myself, and that's one of the things that I talk about in my book, is that it doesn't happen overnight, and I have to set myself these little goals to remind myself to be still. And I created a do not list rather than a do list.
Oh, that's great.
So, adopting an easy living attitude rather than a to-do list. So, making space for tranquility by clearing out my physical or mental belongings, whatever it is that's bugging me down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of you talked about lifestyle choices. What are some of the lifestyle choices that you make that lean you towards simple, easy living? Like you just mentioned, cleaning out the clutter. So that might be a lifestyle choice of just not consuming a lot, not having a lot of clutter around you. But then talk about that, Suki, what lifestyle choices you choose.
A big one this year is I decided I wasn't going to dye my hair anymore. I was done with putting color in my hair, and I was just going to let myself go gray.
Nice. Yes. Right. So it's
Yeah,
a way of acceptance, a way of embracing what's so, and a way of simplicity.
yeah. Has it been an easy ride? Absolutely not. There's some days when I look at myself and I'm like, holy moly, why am I doing this to myself? I hate it. And then there's other days when I look at it and I'm like, you know what, this is great.
It looks beautiful.
I'm
Yeah.
aging gracefully.
You look amazing. It looks absolutely beautiful.
That was a big lifestyle choice that I made, which I thought it was just going to affect me, but it didn't. It affected my daughters in such a way that I never even thought for 1 second. My older daughter really struggled with it. It, my mortality was brought to the forefront because she just kept seeing me as someone who was aging rather than her mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to work through that. I just thought it was going to be something that I did for myself, but
Yeah. So not coloring your hair, that was one of your lifestyle
Mhm.
choices,
Mhm.
decluttering. What are some of the other lifestyle choices that you've made?
So we are very, very, very conscious about the fact now that we try really hard to make sure that we are only consuming things that either have a place in our heart or home or we really enjoy. We're not buying things just because they're cheap, just because they're on sale, or just because we think we need them.
Right. Right.
That was a big one because I realized there was things in my home that I bought because I thought I needed them, but I didn't.
You don't. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need
So
them.
such a wonderful way of simplicity, only buying things that have value to you
Yeah. Yeah.
in your life, and not stuff, not accumulating stuff.
And there was so much stuff. And there was so much stuff.
Yeah.
And, it just all takes time. I can't be the master of doing nothing or making conscious choices all the time. I still fall into the trap. But I just have to keep reminding myself that I still have to keep being willing to move forward or move through the difficult situations. And being kind to myself is a big one because I would really beat myself up if I made a mistake.
Yeah, well, that is about being conscious,
Mm-hmm.
practicing self-awareness, making I guess changing your inner dialogue isn't a lifestyle change necessarily, but it's a change in your way of being. So being kind to yourself is another way of
Mm-hmm.
having an easy, simple life. Suki,
Yeah.
this is so great. We need to start wrapping up, but are there any last thoughts about, your entry into this whole space of being more mindful, being more conscious in how you're constructing your life? I have to say, I'm so impressed with you because, I mean, yeah, so I have to ask you this before we wrap up. You're working full time. You've got two active daughters. You're taking a dance class,
Uh,
and you wrote 3 books. How did you do it all?
it's funny. I don't know. And the only thing that I can think of is that I carve out moments throughout my day where I work on my job,
Yep,
my 9 to 5 job
yep.
that I do. And then I intentionally carve out an hour in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, and then an hour maybe in the evening where I concentrate on doing something that brings me joy. And writing was one of those things.
Okay. Okay.
But if I don't carve that time out, I find myself sort of floundering.
Yeah.
And I don't like that feeling. I like to be doing something that really brings me meaningful pleasure. And writing is one of those. And then also just sitting with my own thoughts, not having the TV on, not having the radio on. I have to consciously make time for that.
It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm so impressed with what you've done, Suki, the 3 books that you've written. I want to direct our listeners to Amazon, where they can find Sukie Roberts' 3 books. The one that we've mostly talked about today is Easy and Simple Living, a guide for those who want to do nothing but enjoy doing everything. So Suki, thank you so much for being my guest today on the Conscious Living Podcast, for bringing your bicultural, multicultural perspectives of how to live life more consciously and the easy and simple life. It's just been delightful to spend time with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was
Absolutely.
a pleasure.